Hello there and welcome to the Star Wars Showcase YouTube channel. Today I've got a couple of tips and tricks for building out your very own Stormtrooper Medic. So let's get right into it. So right off the bat, as you take a look at the completed product here, want to call out that this is a little bit more of a difficult project than I normally feature on this channel, as we have some different painting, we have some different gluing, working with 3D printed parts, as well as a full repaint on the body there. So definitely a little bit more involved as you're tackling a project like this. But before we go over the parts and pieces that you're going to need to build out your own medic, I do want to call some attention to the inspiration for this project. You've got some lovely concept art coming up on your screen right now, and this is coming courtesy of Edward Grolt, a very talented concept artist who does all kinds of really cool Star Wars and military and medieval-esque art that very much fits this kind of battlefield aesthetic. So definitely recommend checking them out on Instagram if you're interested. And it's these original designs here that inspired our friend GI Trooper Kits on Etsy to actually make a 3D printed kit so we could build out troopers like this of our own. Now, you may have recognized him underneath all of those armor and accessory pieces, but our base body for our Stormtrooper Medic is going to be a Black Series Bodhi Rook. And Bodhi is fantastic because once you get that big plastic vest off of him, he has a really great just default Imperial body, just very simple plain jumpsuit. And so the first step, once we have that, that vest removed, is to simply paint our body kind of a green, a forest green, army green, any kind of darker green to fit that kind of feel of the original concept art is what we're going for. So as with other tutorials that we've done on this channel, we're always going to begin our painting with that initial primer layer. So you'll get your can of spray primer, find a nice ventilated space, a mask of some sort that you can put over your mouth and your nose, and then get that first layer of spray primer along with your preferred coat of green on top of that. Again, we're probably going to be looking at 2 to 3 thin coats of green paint on top of your primer layer. That's going to ensure that the paint goes on nice and even, that there isn't any kind of blotchy, thick areas, and that we're still getting that full coverage over things. And once you have that jumpsuit fully painted green, it may be a good idea to actually take your sealant that you would use at the very end of a project to put that spray coat over the paintwork that you've already done, just to make sure that as we continue to handle this figure, as we're trying on and testing different armor pieces, that green paint that we've worked so hard to put on there isn't going to scratch or scuff off here. So to ensure that we have that nice, clean, even coat, and that it stays nice, clean, and even, might be a good idea to put on that sealant coat now. Once that base body is taken care of, we'll move on to our GI Trooper kit to start painting up some of the different pieces for our medic. And you'll actually notice here we have a surplus of pieces that we would actually use in building out this kit. So there's different backpack options to choose from, as well as a helmet versus an unhelmeted look. And so completely up to your preference how you want to build out your troop, or if you want to buy one of these kits and then have a couple extra pieces for another build, that's totally another option as well. But I went for the second backpack, the one that's a little bit more on the inside, that has kind of those containers on the back, as well as the helmeted version for that medic, just because it fit a little bit more with the particular concept art image that I liked the most. So once you have your preferred pieces picked out, we're going to paint things up very similar to how we did that base body. So the primer coat goes first, and then we got 2 to 3 thin layers of paint. And basically, I mean, you can just use that concept art that we already have as a reference to kind of pick out the different colors. But at the same time, if you prefer a different look, if you want to throw, some black in there, or if you want to get more of like a medic white and red kind of aesthetic, you can totally go in that direction too. And once we have all our painting done, you actually have a couple of different decal options to use here as part of the GI Trooper kit. So, there's all kinds of varying sizes here. These are just going to be your basic water slide decals, so you'll take whichever you like, cut that out carefully with an X-Acto blade, and then dunk that in some warm water, and then affix it to your preferred space or the preferred spot on the figure, and let things dry there for a couple of minutes. And so really up to your discretion on where you want to use these. Again, we've got the nice reference. I took a little bit of freedom, put some of the lettering and some of the different icons in different places, but again, up to you. And with those decals affixed in place, you pretty much have a completed Medic Stormtrooper. is one call out is you're looking to glue the gear in place. I do recommend using either some hot glue or some strong, crazy glue. And when you're doing that, you can put down these little pieces of kind of elastic. I've used these in other videos to do different like bandoliers and straps, but these are often nice in creating a little bit of padding between your figure and the actual 3D printed parts, so that when you're gluing it down, you're not gluing plastic to plastic, rather you're gluing plastic to this piece of elastic and then gluing the other piece of that elastic to the plastic of the figure itself, if that makes sense. So here's some close-up shots of my completed figure. I did a hot glue and Vaseline affix job on the head there, so we've still got articulation. I also added some additional paint weathering on the green design here. So I took a little bit of a white paint as well as a makeup sponge and did a little bit of splotch work just to give that weathered look. I think one of the things I really like about this kit is you get some nice color variety when following that concept art. So we get the nice brown on the patches, we get the flashes of red with the decals, the forest green looks really good, and I think it all really comes together for this really nice aesthetic, and for this trooper that feels really unique in a collection that we, of course, aren't seeing in any of our mainstream media, but still feels like it really fits in with everything else. And one of the pieces that comes with the kit that I didn't call out earlier in the video is a little Bacta-pod that you get, a la, your original Star Wars Battlefronts. And so this was provided in a blue kind of transparent plastic, and so all I had to do was put those layers of white and then a little touch of red here and there for like some buttons. But this is the perfect little accessory for a medic to kind of have in hand as he's, running and triaging and helping, different soldiers there. So if you're building out a scene with this guy, it's a great little thing to have either in his hand or just close by. And with our completed figure here, I also wanted to do some size comparisons for everyone, just so they get a feel of things. Here is our normal Black Series Stormtrooper. I'm also going to throw in Admiral Rampart so you get an idea of what Imperial officers look like scaled. And you'll notice that our medic is slightly shorter as the Bodhi Rook figure is a little bit shorter. So we aren't going to get that 100% completely standard look, but he certainly fits in with that aesthetic. And as you'll notice, like with the backpack and with the shoulder armor, all of that is still feeling like it's very much, to scale and within universe. So that's a breakdown of our Imperial Medic here. This is one of my favorite builds that I've done over the past year, and I apologize that I don't have more in-depth step-by-step instructions for this, as I actually built this guy about a year ago. But this is one of my most favorite projects. He's got a really prominent place on my shelf, and I think he fits in for, your frontline troopers. He's great in the background. He even looks good, next to like Imperial Remnant or really kind of dirty, worn, stormtroopers like that. So definitely a fun build. It is an involved project. This one took me a couple of days, several hours in total. So, expect that when you're putting this together, but just take things nice and slow, be patient with yourself, be patient with your work, and you'll definitely be rewarded with a really great figure at the end of it all. So let me know your thoughts on this build. If you have any suggestions, any tweaks, any color alterations that you would prefer, would love to hear everyone's thoughts down in the comments below. And if you're interested in more tutorials like this and seeing what you can make with 3D printed parts or anything like that, please make sure to check out some of our other videos on the channel, as that definitely helps us grow our presence.